Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Sayyid Farooq Hassan is back with a new episode of Sky is the Limit. Viewers, Pakistan is blessed with an abundant supply of talented and intellectual human capital. We have so many amazing people around us in the society, and my mission is to capture most of them and bring them to spotlight and expose them to my viewers. Today I happen to be sitting with an iron lady. When we talk about iron ladies, we have quite a few examples. One of the leading ones is perhaps Muhtarma Shaheed Benazir Bhutto. But today the individual that I am going to introduce to you has been a career diplomat. She's done double masters, one in political science, one in English. She writes for different newspapers, magazines, different articles. She's a guest speaker in different universities. She's currently teaching at the Foreign Service Academy of Pakistan, and she has been a leading diplomat in different capitals of the world, representing Pakistan and its true value. I am with none other than Muhtarma Nagmana Alamgir Hashmi. Let's meet her. Assalamu alaikum, Nagmana ji.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for giving us time.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your program.
It's an honor.
Delighted and honored to be here.
I've been reading your articles, and we've been hearing about you for so long. I think the most prized stint, or was one of the most critical junctures in the history of the world, perhaps, was in 2019 when COVID hit, and you were the ambassador in China. You were representing Pakistan in China, and you braved it out for almost 2 years till 2020 end, when you retired and came back to Pakistan. So we're going to talk about all that, but before that, such an illustrious career, where did it all start from? Where were you born? How was your early childhood?
I was actually born in Lahore, so you can call me a Lahori.
A Lahori.
I was born in Lahore in 1960.
Okay.
And but I have really never lived in Lahore.
Okay.
Because I was adopted.
Okay.
So I was brought up in Rawalpindi and Islamabad.
Okay.
So if you ask me where my roots are, they're in Lahore.
Okay.
But if you ask me where my heart and soul is, then I'm a true blue-blooded Pindiite and Islamabadite.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, that's great. Okay, so you moved to Pindi, Islamabad, right in the childhood, like in the early days?
Yes, I sort of, you can say immediately after I was born, I lived in Rawalpindi.
Okay, okay. Yeah. And so your early schooling and all would have been obviously in Pindi?
Yes, my early schooling was here. I went to station school, and there's a very interesting reason for that, because station school is, as you know, in Kent. Yes. And it was just opposite the press information department.
Okay.
And my khala, who had adopted me, was a very distinguished officer of the Ministry of Information. Oh. And she used to work in PIDA at that time. So she thought it was very convenient, because I would come with her and go to school, and after that I would come back to the Ministry of Information, and it would not be wrong to say that I spent most of my school days, the younger days, sitting under her table and doing my homework and entertaining myself. Okay. And once I got to high school, in front of a desk, you know, doing my homework and working. So I you could say I grew up in the Ministry of Information.
So little did she know that she was creating a bureaucrat in the making.
I'm not a bureaucrat.
Are you not a bureaucrat?
I'm a diplomat.
There's
a very big difference.
Okay, we're going to talk about that difference also. Yeah. So tell me, were you the eldest of the siblings? Like how many siblings?
No, we are one brother and 3 sisters. I'm the eldest of the sister.
Eldest of the sisters.
Yes, I have 2 younger siblings. Yeah.
Okay, so responsibility right from the beginning on your shoulders.
Sort of. Yes and no, because I grew up alone.
Okay.
My sisters only joined me later
Okay.
in around 74, 75.
Okay.
But
Oh, okay.
before that, I did my schooling I was,
As a solo
as
kid.
a solo kid, yeah.
Okay. So must be very pampered then, obviously.
Not actually, because I belong to a family of very strong women and family of intellectuals and writers, and so they actually believed in sort of excellence all around kind of a thing.
Okay.
So I grew up among elders, attending mushairas and other intellectual
Okay. All the
events and
art
related and all sorts, political. That was the time when there was
Right.
a lot of political movements and awareness going on, because we used to live behind in front of the back gate of Gordon College. So all political movements used to start from there.
Yeah.
So we have witnessed quite a lot of different things,
Yes.
which actually, when you're growing up, these things have an impact on you.
Absolutely.
And because, as I said, my Khala was also in the Ministry of Information, so all sorts of newspapers and magazines would come,
And you would
and
read.
we would read them, and there was political and intellectual and literary discussions going on all around in the house. So I think that actually fashioned my entire trajectory of thinking and
Okay.
and work ethics and everything.
Seeing your personality traits, I'm sure you would have been a very confident kid when you were in school.
Yes, I was. I was quite a chatterbox, but yes, I was very
Active in
confident.
debates,
Yes.
and good in studies.
Yes, I was good in studies, and I was, but I was not a bookworm.
Ah, okay.
Because I had such strong academic influences, intellectual influences at home, that I was being taught by them at home also.
Okay.
So that is why I used to be a lot of time ahead of the class, because of in
Because you
terms
would
of
think.
ideas and
Ah.
awareness about the world and the country. But as I said, I wasn't a bookworm, so I was in sports, I was in dramatics and
Ah,
debates and
okay.
all. And I continued that throughout my academic career. So,
Very nice. What was your favorite sport?
I was in all kinds of sports. So
Okay.
we played cricket, we played football,
Oh.
we played volleyball, and we were in all kinds of athletics
Usually girls go
and
for
everything.
badminton and.
No, I was too short for badminton.
Okay, okay, okay. So, but you were into
But
all
I
games.
did all kinds of sports
Ah.
and all kinds of other activities.
Okay.
So
And,
that is
and a
why I
very
was
social
the
person?
very social person, because that is why I was the head girl of the school.
Ah.
And then in my later years at college, I was also the president of CB College for 2 years. So, and we led the debating teams, and we did a lot of participated in a
Very
lot
nice.
of dramatic activities, and
Okay.
did a lot of television and
Right.
radio at that time also,
Yeah.
including dramas for PNCA. So we thoroughly enjoyed our school time, and as I said, I was brought up by very strong women, and my grandfather was absolutely focused on education for women. So he had 4 daughters, 3 sons, and he educated them equally.
Very nice.
So all of them were PhDs and postdocs and whatever, and in very good professions. So we were always encouraged to go and explore and utilize various talents. So, and then my grandmother had a very, very strong influence on me, because she was an educated woman also. She
okay.
was a graduate of the Aligarh University.
Oh, mashallah. Okay.
So, in fact, it's very interesting. I had double maths and senior Cambridge, and some of the times, everybody got stuck, and then she would say, bring me a slate and some chalk, and she would sort it out, actually.
Okay.
So, these were women who had broken their own glass ceilings. So I was provided with a very enabling environment.
Right from childhood, you
Right
had
from
these role
childhood.
models, and
Exactly.
you wanted to become one, of course, following
Yeah.
them. And those would have been very interesting times, I would say. Like, you were born in the, I would say, just before the Ayub era, and then you saw the Bhutto era, and then
We were born in the Ayub era.
you were born in the Ayub era, and then the Bhutto era, and then the Zia era. So, like, the different models, like, and different forms of society. So, during your school days, I'm sure with a lot of exposure with your elders and all, what was your aim or mission or objective in life? What did you want to become?
Actually, if you ask me very frankly, I wanted to become a stage artist, which was absolutely a no-no at that time. Nowadays, it's a different story. And then I wanted to take up journalism.
Okay.
And at that time, journalism was not like nowadays. You know, you had to spend all nights in in offices and all. So that also became a little bit problematic. So
from first you wanted to become a stage artist during your school days. I'm talking about when kids.
College days also after that.
Okay, and then a journalist. Those could have been possible, but never a doctor, engineer.
No, I just I didn't have that aptitude, and I'm very I don't have the patience to see blood.
Oh, okay.
I cannot. So I really did not want to be.
Okay.
Although I could have gone into any profession because of my grades, but I was never tempted to become that. Wanted to do something different. So I wanted to be a lawyer then, which again sort of didn't. So eventually, you know,
you did your. We will come to that. So you did your matric with flying colors?
No, I did my senior Cambridge.
Senior Cambridge, O levels.
System.
Okay.
Senior Cambridge, junior Cambridge, senior Cambridge.
Senior Cambridge,
yeah.
And then you got good grades in it, and then you have to make a choice when you go into the college system here in Pakistan that you want to do pre-medical or pre-engineering or fine arts. You took fine arts.
No, I didn't take finance. I took literature and political science. I had no interest in finance.
Okay, so you were clear that either a journalist or something to do with that.
Something like that. But I didn't want to go into these.
And which college did you go to?
I went to CB College, the famous CB College that there was in those days. The one and only, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were heading the student body there, and you were busy in academic and other extracurricular activities in the college. Okay. And then you did your bachelor's in these subjects.
I did my bachelor's in political science and literature.
And literature.
Yeah.
And after that, what did you decide?
Well, after I took my graduation examination, which was in, which ended in January, I think, still remember January 3rd, 1980, just before the Russians walked in and the Soviets walked in. The Soviets walked into Afghanistan and the Ayatollahs walked into Iran. So it was very
challenging times.
Very interesting and very challenging times. So because the colleges, as you know, the system, they're closed for months before you get your results and all. So I went and I joined the National Institute of Modern Languages at that time, and I went and did my German language just to fill time. So I did that.
Any specific interest with the German
No,
language?
I actually went to take French, but there were so many girls lined up for doing French, and there was nobody standing in front of the German department. So I said, well, let me take it as a challenge. That means, you know, it's just too common.
Okay.
So I went, and I was the only girl there.
Okay.
So I did my diploma from there, but by that time I got my admission back in English literature.
Masters in English literature.
Yeah, but before I could do my masters, you know, the colleges again closed because of disturbances in Balochistan and Sindh. And so one of my cousins was also, not really cousin, but extended family friend. Somebody was doing CSS, so my khala said, why don't you try? And
so till then you had no idea of doing CSS?
Not at that time.
Not at
maybe we focused on
never a point of
finishing
interest
the academic things.
Just like a normal routine
Normal
student.
thing, but foreign service attracted me.
Okay.
But we had not really decided. We thought we'll do our masters and then see. So my khala encouraged me. She said, you're sitting at home, you know, doing nothing. Why don't you try and take the exam? And I said, look, all of Pakistan knows us because of our various activities, and in a good way, you know. So we, if we fail, what are they going to say? I had asked another colleague of mine who then took a year later, a very dear friend of mine who's also in the foreign service. And she said, no, we're not going to take it. Everybody will laugh at us if we fail. They'll say, tabanti, and now look at them, they have flunked the exam. So I said, okay, we'll do it. So on the last day, I submitted the forms and I forgot about it completely.
Okay.
Then we, when the exams came near, I just took the exam without really thinking much about it.
So you didn't study for 24 hours, 6 months straight?
No, I didn't. I didn't do any of those things. I was actually, because the schools were closed, I was working in the German embassy in the cultural section just to improve my language skills. So I said, we're just going to take it as a, you know, as an experience. So I didn't even have all the books and everything. But because I cleared it, the written, then I got very scared. And then I said, now we've got to do something. So I had 10 days before the interview. So those 10 days, I really
studied hard.
Studied hard for the subjects I had opted for, not really thinking much about them. So, and then I actually scored extremely well in my interview.
Okay.
And I was among the first 10, so I got the foreign service. And
Rest
foreign
is
service
history.
was only my only choice.
So even if you had gotten any other option that you wouldn't have taken?
I wouldn't have taken it, and that is why I still remember, God bless his soul, the chairman of the Public Service Commission used to be the famous General Atikur Rahman.
Okay.
And he kept asking me, why aren't you sort of opting for DMG? So I said, because I opt for DMG, you will not give me field posts. And what is the point of joining a service if you can't,
perform
go to the
show
perform
results
or whatever. So if I have to, go to the Ministry of Education or Health or whatever, then I don't want to join. I want to join a service where I can reach the ultimate. And I personally felt in those days that DMG and police was really not the place for women. We had really not opened up that much. So I only opted for foreign service. So I remember after trying to convince me a lot, he said, you're either overconfident or stupid. So I said, I'd rather believe in the former. And Alhamdulillah, I got the service I wanted, I got the position.
And did your cousin or the extended family that you mentioned, did she also get into?
No, it was my male colleague who also made it.
He made it.
But
same batch as yours?
Same batch as mine, but in a different service.
In a different service, not in foreign service.
No.
So you got what you wanted.
Yeah.
You're in foreign service. You had completed your masters by then?
At that time I had not, because by the time the schools and colleges opened, we had already joined the academy.
Okay.
And once we joined the academy, and I remember Shaista Zaid saying, you'll pass, just take the exam. But at that time our CSA exams were coinciding with them, so they clashed. So I said, I'll do it later. So then later I just did it when I got time. And
okay. So how long was the training in this academy?
Lahore is, the common training is for about 10 months, 9 months.
9 to 10 months, yes.
And after that you come to Islamabad, and then you again have another 9 to 10 months of specialized
in the
training.
Office?
No, it's in the Foreign Service Academy. So you
Academy.
do specialized training for that particular service.
Okay.
Different people go to different academies. The DMG people do their specialized academy.
So those are the students that you're teaching these days in the Foreign Service Academy?
I teach them too.
Same that you went
who
to.
come for specialized training, then a lot of my colleagues go there to share
What
their
was the
experience
reaction
and
of your family, your parents, friends, and like when you would have stood out, passed the CSS exam, which is supposed to be the most difficult exam in Pakistan?
As I said, it was sort of taken in its stride by the family, because we were the least educated of the family lot, because all our, khalas and mother and everything were far more qualified than us in terms of education. So they just thought, "Chal hua, bahut acha kiya, now do you, put your head down and work." So
so you took it in the stride.
It took it in the stride.
It wasn't something like something extraordinary had happened.
No, nothing of the sort. Just took it in
okay.
stride. Yeah.
What were your aspirations or expectations when you had passed the exam, got in foreign service? Now that you are in the system, what was your aspiration? What did you actually want to do?
When you join as a junior officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, naturally everybody wants to, at the end of the day, be an ambassador. That is
the highest.
That's the highest that you can go to. And so everybody aspires for that.
So now that you had joined the foreign services and you had gotten what you wanted, what was your aim or mission or goal, or what was your aspiration?
Actually, when you join as a young officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or for that matter in any other ministry, of course you want to end up as a federal secretary or ambassador, which is equivalent. But once you actually get into the system, it is less about what you want to be at the end. It's more about doing what is assigned to you to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, so your aspiration is to do what is given to you like nobody has done it before and nobody will do it after, knowing fully well that a lot of people have done much better and will, the people who will follow will do much, system will continue. But that is the kind of determination that you should show. This was, taught to us by our parents also, who were very dedicated, hard-working people, saying that you need to give in your best to whatever you're doing, whether it's sweeping the floor or cooking the food or writing the minutes for the Prime Minister or the President. You should give it your all.
Right, right.
The second person coming after you will always do it better.
And
but at that particular time you should. So one gets so involved in everything that
task that you do, and I think in foreign service every individual is actually representing Pakistan, because the way the people in other countries see you is they see Pakistan, so you're truly representing Pakistan.
But in my case, I think something very interesting happened, and which of course now happens to a lot of young officers, because when I joined the office first time, I became the section officer for the Foreign Secretary's office. So you got to work right in the beginning with the Director of Foreign Secretary's office and the Foreign Secretary himself. And those were different times, there was no digital, no computer, no
digital
WhatsApp,
support. There was no
digital support or whatever. So you really had to go through the grind and read through those telex messages and whatever.
But good exposure.
But very, very good exposure at the very start of what the world was about. Because you get to see the functioning of the Foreign Office and your foreign policy orientation, because you get to read so much material. Everything that's coming to the Foreign Secretary goes through the system, comes to the so you read files.
And so many legends serving in the civil servants at that time.
So you got, so I think that was a very, very initial break that I got. That set the bar for my own self, to emulate the greats that we had worked with.
Awesome. And how many females were there in your batch? How many people?
We were 3 in the batch.
Total batch was?
We were a total batch of
Foreign
9
service.
at that time.
9?
And then we had another 6 who had come through a special batch. That's another story. But we were basically 9 in the batch. 3 were ladies. Before the batch before us was 2 ladies. The 2 batches before that, I think, had no ladies.
Who were the other 2 ladies in your batch?
One was Zehra Ahmed, who retired as our ambassador in Lisbon. And other was Kehkeshan Farooqi, who left the service quite early.
Initially. Okay, so we're going to continue with this interesting talk now that she has entered the foreign service. What happened after that? How were her postings? Which countries did she serve in? What was her contribution towards Pakistan? Right after a short break, we'll be back. Welcome back after the break. You're watching Sky's the Limit with Syed Farooq Hassan, and we are in conversation with Madam Nagmana Hashmi. So, Nagmana ji, what was your first international assignment?
My first international assignment was my posting to Paris as Third Secretary. And I'd gone there because I'd done German, but in the Foreign Service you have to do one language. So I had done French. So I went to do my French, then I came back, and then I was immediately posted out again to France, where I was for 4 years, and we had Niaz Naik was our ambassador, who was the previous Foreign Secretary I'd worked with. So that was a very interesting era.
And were you married by then?
No, I wasn't married.
You're
single. My first posting, I wasn't married.
So how was that experience?
It was very good experience.
First time in Paris?
First time in Paris. I'd visited Paris before, but living in Paris and admiring in Paris wasn't the Paris of today. It was a very different, very chic Paris in the early 80s. So there's so much to see, so much to learn, and as they say, the politics of Europe gets molded by the direction that France takes. So those were very defining times when Mr. Mitra was there, and then we saw his second term, and interestingly that was during his second term when Le Pen, Marine Le Pen's father started his party, this far right party. And I remember how the French used to say, you know, they wouldn't take it seriously. They said, this can never happen.
The passing fad.
It's pass, but it did. So then it was very interesting because we also saw Pakistan make that big transition from the Ziaul-Haq dictatorship to democracy.
Yep.
And as a young officer, I think that was very instructive, because although Ziaul-Haq Sahab was quite a favorite of the West because of, you know, the jihad going on and all, but that one incident when Ziaul-Haq passed away and we announced election and then Benazir Bhutto came to power, it actually transformed the entire image of the country, that this was now a democratic country, the first Muslim woman as the prime minister. And so you saw how the image of the countries,
the softer image of Pakistan.
No, the image of a country is abroad is affected by the developments and the strengths of the country at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was one thing.
So you were there for 4 years.
I was there for 4 years, and I think the you know, you contribute in different ways. We didn't have a mission to UNESCO, separate mission, so we were also looking after that, and also after Ireland, we opened a mission much later. So there's a lot of work, but naturally you don't expect a third secretary to be doing
taking the
policy
decisions
making,
and all, yeah.
But there are many little ways that you can contribute in. For example, I am very interested in public diplomacy and literature and arts. And so I remember the ambassador assigned me for, you know, to get some culture, to do some cultural events, and we teamed up with the French traditional music people, and I was there when we first Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan came to.
Oh, okay.
So his first trip to
Paris
was
during your tenure.
Was during
okay.
our tenure, and then, you know, we saw what a music giant of Pakistan can do for your country in one night. What a mission cannot do in 10 years.
How he can win hearts.
Absolutely. You know, I still remember that Theatre de la Ville, 5,000 people sitting on the stairs, and, you know, in front of the stage everywhere, and literally dancing and chanting to his qawwalis. It was amazing. So that actually reinforced my belief in the power of what we now call public diplomacy. Again, then it was during our time there that famous archaeologist Dr. Yarish discovered the Mehergarh civilization, which is now the oldest civilization in Asia. So we did a huge exhibition of some of the artifacts that lasted 4 months, then it went to other parts of Europe. And then we published a book on that. Dr. Yarish had done a book on that. So I was involved in that book and the translation of that book from French to as the sub-editor of the book.
Awesome.
So there are, you know, ways that you can, if you're interested and if you want to contribute other than your own, you know, political work and other things, there are ways that you can you know,
make a difference.
You go out, you meet friends, you know, involve yourself with the local think tanks and local, whichever country you are in.
Right. So after France, you've served in European Union also, and then obviously you've served as an ambassador in 3 different capitals, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
After France, actually, in Foreign Office, you go for your first posting, which is a single posting.
Yeah.
You come back to the headquarters and you serve another 2-3 years, and then you go for 2 consecutive postings. So I came back from France at the end of '90, and I got married in the next 5 months. And I had a daughter, and then we went to Indonesia. And at that time, it was very interesting because Indonesia used to be the chairman of NAM. And after NAM, it was going to be the chairman of ASEAN. And after that, it was going to be the chairman of OIC. So because I had a lot of multilateral experience, because my initial years at the headquarters here in Islamabad were only in the UN division. So, that suited both the ministry and myself to be, there in Jakarta at that time. And then we went to, and that was the time when we became the sectoral partners of ASEAN, and we are still sectoral partner of ASEAN. That's another political thing which we can discuss later. But that was the time that we did that. And then I went to Denmark, and I was again there for 4 years. And that was again a time of very interesting, momentous times for us in Pakistan, because that is the time when we did our nuclear tests. And all of a sudden we were sanctioned everywhere, and it was difficult time.
Yes, great. And after being deputy head of mission in China, what was your next assignment?
My next assignment was, again they wanted me to go to Washington again. And I told Riaz Khan, so I said, I've done my deputy head of missionship, and I could have in that time also gone to a junior mission as ambassador instead of deputy head of mission to China. So now why do you want me to do America? But there was another story to it.
Okay.
So I was posted, but then something else happened and I could still not go to Washington.
So Washington was avoiding you, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But jo Allah karte, it's always better. Whatever happens,
absolutely,
by itself is always.
God has a plan for everyone.
God has a plan for everyone. So they posted me out to Ireland as ambassador.
Okay, that was your first ambassadorial.
That was
assignment.
my first ambassadorial. They sent me actually only for 2 years because that was the time when it was the largest growing economy in Europe.
Yes.
And at that time, the foreign direct investment in Ireland was more than the joint foreign direct investment in China and India put together.
Okay.
So they said, there's a lot of opportunity to do economic diplomacy there. So you do 2 years and then you can come back. And I'd already overstayed the 6-year limit in China. So I said, okay, I'll do it for 2 years. And by the end of those 2 years, I actually got posted back and I brought my family back. But I was still not officially posted out because I was doing my staff course in Lahore. And unfortunately, during that period, my husband was diagnosed with 4th stage lung cancer.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
they only gave him between 2 and 4 weeks to live.
Okay.
So I'm eternally grateful to my dear friend and ambassador, who then became the foreign secretary, Salman Bashir Saab. And he said, you forget about everything, just take him back. So at least he gets
good medical
care.
Yeah.
And which we did in 24 hours. And there we were lucky that, one of the leading professors who was researching on cancer with Ceylon Catering took him on as a challenge. And because of that, then he survived another 2 years and 7 months.
No.
But it was, we always knew that it was not a long-term solution. But at least that gave my girls enough time to at least remember him now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they were too young.
Must have been a very, very tragic and testing time for
because
yourself.
I ended up staying 5.5 years because of that, because you couldn't really move him anywhere from there.
Okay.
And
the Foreign Office was supportive. That
the Foreign Office is I think the only institution that really takes care of its officers and staff when it comes to issues like this.
Yeah.
And they're not, we are a very small service, people think we are thousands and thousands of us. We are only 307 or something odd officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who sort of man the ministry and 4 officers here and all the missions abroad. So it's a very small service. And these kind of tragic incidents don't happen every day. They are 1 in a million cases. And in those cases, the Foreign Office is very, very supportive. So
Nice.
they were very supportive.
So
Then I came back,
okay.
and then I was Additional Secretary Americas for 3 years.
At the head
and,
office?
At the head office. That was again a very, very interesting time, because that was the post-Salala period, where the relationships had gone into
Strained.
deep freeze,
Yes.
very strained. And then when the new government came in 2013 of the PMLN government, they tried to sort of start the relationship, and after a very long cold storage,
The ice began to thaw, and
ice began to thaw, and finally John Kerry came, and we put the relationship back on track. So again, very
you've been
very interesting
through
period.
testing times.
Very
a lot.
interesting for that. Very
Okay,
interesting
all
period.
right.
Yeah.
So then after this head office assignment, where did you go as an
I
ambassador?
went as ambassador to the European Union,
EU.
Belgium, and Luxembourg.
Okay.
So because other countries have 3 to 4 missions in Brussels, one to European Union,
Yeah.
one to Belgium, and other to NATO and to.
But you were heading
World
all
Health.
these.
But there are only a handful of embassies that have one mission, and Pakistan is one of those who has just one mission. So we handle everything, and everything which nobody else in Europe is handling, because they send it to Brussels.
Yes.
That again was very interesting times, because when I went, we commenced our GSP plus status, and so we were under very, very
Close
sort of
scrutiny.
focused
Yes.
scrutiny of what was happening in Pakistan, and whether we were following the 27 conventions and all. And at home things were not good, because terrorism
Yes.
had calmed down a little, but was still
Prevalent.
prevalent. And unfortunately, the very, very tragic incident of the Aamir Public School
Yeah,
in
2000,
Peshawar
yeah,
also
yeah.
happened, 16. And then we also started the Zarbeas operation, and so those were issues that really put a lot of pressure on the mission there, because and that was also the year that the Lisbon Treaty came into operation,
yeah.
which meant that a lot of powers were given to the parliament rather than the institutions, and
Yeah.
the commissioners sort of began to be appointed by the parliament, and it's the largest parliament of the world, 753 parliamentarians, all from all part of the EU. And so every day you were standing in front of one committee or the other, defending your position and answering their questions. That was also the time when the famous Asia Bibi case was going on, and there were a lot of other, blasphemy cases
Yeah.
had emerged. So it was a very, very challenging 5.5
environment in
years.
Pakistan, and challenging for you to defend.
Very
also.
challenging to defend it at the heart of Europe.
Yes.
So you had to not only be on top of what your positions are, but also on top of the positions that those countries were taking around the world, and what their record on those things was.
Yes. And what were their
Yeah.
expectations from you?
Yes. So it was tough, but it was very instructive. I think I learned
So you learned a lot from there.
because we managed the media, the think tanks, and then that was also the time when the BRI and CPEC was launched in earnest.
Yeah.
And the entire West started to build this negative narrative against China, against BRI,
Yeah.
against CPAC. So it was 5.5 years of literally fighting at the front, day in and day out.
Day in and day out. Okay.
But
So,
we managed.
yeah.
We managed. I was the first lady ambassador to the EU, so that helped.
Okay.
So
okay.
because
and that prepared
I
you for your next assignment.
Yeah, and I can tell you, there are lots of advantages to being a lady ambassador. To begin with, people don't expect a lady ambassador in important positions, and
Going to China as an ambassador, China is one of the most critical and probably one of the most important postings in any foreign service officer's life. You went as an ambassador, and And during that time, the whole world got, the pandemic. We all suffered from COVID-19, Corona and all. How was that experience?
Look, I have followed China for 20 years.
Yeah, you were there deputy head of mission also.
And because I was there as deputy head of mission, and I was very active.
Yeah.
So I had lots of friends in the think tanks and in the foreign office and here and there, and all those people had risen to the levels of vice foreign ministers, for example.
Yeah.
Like
so you had good friends in important places.
Very important places. Like the Chinese vice premier was Ambassador Lo Jiahui, who is now the Sitka chairman. He was the DG and I was the deputy head of mission, so we worked together. Then we thought we were going to come back to Pakistan and work together, but then he came to Pakistan as ambassador. And then when I came back to China, he came back as the vice minister after doing India. So, and a lot of other friends and colleagues and business sectors.
So that would have helped you in your...
So that I didn't have to start from a scratch.
Yeah.
In fact, because I had served, I had so many friends there that I hit the ground running. And people knew me, and the media knew me, and everybody. So going back was one of the cherished dreams come true, because I was very impressed by what China is doing, and I'm quite a China fan. And because I genuinely believe what they are doing is right. For their own people, but also for the rest of the world.
Very progressive and very hardworking.
So there's lots to learn.
Yeah.
So I went there, and eventually, once you established yourself and reconnected with everybody and started to visit the various provinces and doing your normal work, that COVID struck.
Yeah.
And during COVID, a lot of people do not know that Wuhan was the worst hit, but Beijing was the second worst hit. But they didn't announce it because it's the capital. They didn't want to do it. But in those conditions, the Pakistan embassy was the only embassy working 24/7. We didn't close for a single day.
We have a lot of people, Pakistanis there, students and people working there.
Students, actually in Wuhan we had 1,300 odd students, but we had a lot of personnel from other departments working on various projects. We were getting our frigates and ships made there. So they were working on those commercial projects also. So other than the 1,300 students that Pakistan was making a lot of hue and cry about, there were a lot of other people in Wuhan. And everywhere else. There are 28,000 students in all of China. And most of the places they were in got affected by COVID. So it was not only Wuhan that we were looking after, we were looking after all of China. And then there were good about 15,000 businessmen and traders who come to Yiwu and Shanghai and all. And then there were a lot of people stuck in Xinjiang as well, day traders. So it was a difficult time, very difficult
for the whole world
environment, and then you had to immediately sort of relearn how you operate,
devise new ways of doing things,
and go from physical meetings to
online
virtual meetings and this, that, and the other. It's not easy, and then connecting with the rest. With your diaspora, they won't allow us to go out anywhere.
In such an important capital at that time would have been very challenging.
At that time, I had asked the Chinese, I said, you take me, you've taken President Xi and you've taken your Prime Minister there, you took them by helicopter and you brought them back. So let me go, it'll calm down the situation in the students, because it's and it'll calm down the parents back home also. But they didn't agree. They said, because if you go, you cannot back. We can't. And
so
we
you
can't
stayed there throughout those 2 years?
No. So they said, if you go to Wuhan, you can't come back. And we can't have the Pakistan ambassador standard in Wuhan. So then we negotiated, and they finally agreed that you can send 2 officers. And then 2 of my young officers volunteered, very, very brave of them, because it was like being condemned to death. And those 2 young officers went there and did a fantastic job. And
No, I think it was very well managed. The way under those circumstances, it was very, very tough times.
And it was also very interesting, if I can relay just a small story to you. COVID happened just on the eve of the New Year holidays, you know, the Spring Festival. And half of our school, we have a very big international school there, so half of our school children and teachers were back in Pakistan on holidays, they couldn't come back. And except one officer, all of PIA staff was here too. So we not only did a lot of other things, but we also managed to set up a system to give online classes to the people who were in various parts of the world, our students and teachers, and also run all these special flights of PIA.
Yeah.
Because they didn't allow the people to come back.
Fair enough.
So
that was an achievement.
With great difficulty, they allowed the station manager to come, but they wouldn't allow him to get out of the aircraft. Or so my officers in the ministry also substituted as officers of PIA to get collect all the. We were also the sub office for NDMA because things were being procured from there. So that was a huge operation.
No, I think China was at the
procuring those things and then getting them through customs and clearances. And interestingly, at that time, we realized that PIA didn't have the authorization to take hazardous material, which meant that they couldn't take the vaccines because they are preserved in blue ice. And the scanners and all have very special batteries that are hazardous too. So in that period when all of China was closed, we had to run from pillar to post, but we managed to get them the certification. So now PIA can carry hazardous
material. I know, because at in those times, a lot of changes were made to accommodate the circumstances, and I think the government of Pakistan was also very appreciative of the efforts made by our embassy, our mission in China, all the officers, and being led by you specifically. Much as I would love to talk on, such an interesting conversation, so much to talk about. But unfortunately, paucity of time would not permit me to. But before we wrap up the program, such an illustrious career, Nagmana ji, what message would you like to give to the youth of Pakistan? We want more Nagmanas, in Pakistan. What message would you like to give?
Personally, I think the only message one has to give to everybody, including the youth, is that you have to believe in Pakistan. If there is no Pakistan, you have no identity. I have seen refugees all over the world.
You've traveled, you've served.
I've served, and God forbid anybody becomes a refugee. So whether it's your identity or your survival or your pride, it's Pakistan.
You have to own.
You have to own Pakistan. Nobody is going to change it from abroad. You have to change. We played our part. You have to be honest, dedicated, believe in yourself and in this country. So we need to put our own house in order. How come our youth goes out and outperforms in all fronts? Why can't you do that in your own country? How come our doctors are doing so well abroad? Why not in our own country?
So most of the people say that we don't get an opportunity, but we have to create that opportunity.
The opportunities are there. But you have to, like the Chinese, postgraduate, postdoc people working in the countryside as doctors and farmers, and it's your country.
You have to bring it up.
You have to bring it up.
Excellent message. Thank you so very much, Nagmana ji. Wish you all the best, and may you continue teaching the youth and sharing your experiences and making them into successful Pakistanis. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Viewers, with this we come to the end of this episode of Sky is the Limit. I hope you enjoyed it. Till I see you in another episode, Allah Hafiz.